Shavanudati Navasashileke Lalita Sakiguna Namita Vishake Shavanudati Navasashileke Lalita Sakiguna Ramita Vishake Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Karuna Guru Mai Karuna Varite Sanaka Sanatana Varnita Charite Karunam Guru Karuna Varite Sanaka Sanatana Varnita Charite Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Damodara Rati Vardana Veshe Hari Niskuta Brinda Vipineshe Vishavanudadi Navasashileke Lalita Saki Gunaramita Vishake Karunam Kurumai Karunam Varite Sanaka Sanatana Varnita Charite Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Shrimati Radharani ki jai. So Rupa Goswami in the spiritual world is an associate, a very dear associate of Shrimati Radharani. So what's Rupa Goswami's name in the spiritual world? Rupa Manjari, right? And so the whole mood of the spiritual world is depicted in the song of the joy that the devotees experience in glorifying the Lord, or Shrimati Radharani, right? Krishna and Radha and Krishna. So that's the whole mood of the song. And the servants of Shrimati Radharani are always, you can imagine, they're always full of bliss, glorifying, dancing, celebrating, singing about the glories of Radha and Krishna, right? So you can feel that Rupa Goswami is in that mood of that dear servant of Shrimati Radharani. So very nice song. So today, very special day in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. Every single Gaudiya Vaishnava wants to be a servant of Shrimati Radharani. And Gaudiya means golden, right? We're the followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is non-different than Radha and Krishna together, therefore, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas have at their deepest desire to be servants of Radha and Krishna. So let me just say some invocation prayers. So first, I want to mention something that Srila Prabhupada said in a conversation. He said, this was in 1976, my father was a great devotee, a pure Vaishnava, and he wanted me to become like that. He was praying to Radharani. Any saintly person that would come, he would ask that they bless him, bless me, to become a servant of Radharani. He never prayed that my son may become a very rich man. He never prayed like that. So they would have sadhus over at their house, and he would ask them to pray for his son to become a devotee of Srimati Radharani. So the question that we're going to be sitting with in this class, like through the end, and then at the end we'll come back to this, is why did Prabhupada's father specifically want Srila Prabhupada to be a devotee of Srimati Radharani, right? So that'll be our meditation. And by the end of this discussion, we should be able to explain why, right? And probably you can already do that, but we'll come back to that question. So first I want to pull up the verse that I gave you. So we'll begin with reading a verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sneak peek. Okay, so this is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 4, text 56. Radha Krishna Eka Atma Dui Deha Dhari. Anyonye Vilase Rasa Aswadana Kari. Okay, let's go down and see what it means. Radha and Krishna are one and the same, but they have assumed two bodies. Thus, they enjoy each other, tasting the mellows of love. So then in the very next verse, which is important because they go together, the very next verse says, and now the two of them have come together as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? These two, Radha and Krishna, have joined together to become Lord Chaitanya, right? So purport, the two transcendentalists, Radha and Krishna, are a puzzle to materialists. The above description of Radha and Krishna from the diary of Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami is a condensed explanation, but one needs great spiritual insight to understand the mystery of these two personalities. One is enjoying in two. Sri Krishna is the potent factor and Srimati Radharani is the internal potency. According to Vedanta philosophy, there is no difference between the potent and the potency. They are identical. We can't differentiate between one and the other any more than we can separate fire from heat. Everything in the absolute is inconceivable in relative existence. Therefore, in relative cognizance, it's very difficult to assimilate this truth of the oneness between the potent and the potency. The philosophy of inconceivable oneness and difference propounded by Lord Chaitanya, what's the Sanskrit for that? Achintya Veda Veda Tattva, right? Is the only source of understanding for such intricacies of transcendence. Okay? In fact, Radharani is the internal potency of Sri Krishna. And notice this, she eternally intensifies the pleasure of Sri Krishna. Impersonalists cannot understand this without the help of a Mahabhagavat devotee. The very name Radha suggests that Srimati Radharani is eternally the topmost mistress of the comforts of Sri Krishna. As such, she is the medium transmitting the living entity's service to Sri Krishna. So I'm going to read that again. She is the medium transmitting the living entity's service to Sri Krishna. Devotees in Vrindavan therefore seek the mercy of Srimati Radharani in order to be recognized as loving servitors of Sri Krishna. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally approaches the fallen conditioned souls of the Iron Age to deliver the highest principle of transcendental relationships with the Lord. The activities of Lord Chaitanya are primarily in the role of the pleasure-giving portion of his internal potency. Okay, we can stop there. So, Om Jnana Timirandasya says again, Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Nidhamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So it's a beautiful verse just to kind of create the foundation for this class this morning. Specifically that point about how Srimati Radharani is the one who keeps increasing Krishna's pleasure, right? It keeps growing. Krishna is the all-attractive or the all-expansive one. He's all-attractive, and he's also full of desire, right? Krishna's desires never end. He has unlimited desire. Like us in the material world, we have a desire. We want some orange juice. We drink a glass of it, and then that's it. We're pretty satisfied, right? Unless we have another glass. And then at a certain point, we're like, okay, no more orange juice. But Krishna doesn't have that. He had the ability to keep growing in his desire for enjoyment. He's a supreme enjoyer, right? And the only fit for that, the proper recipient for that is someone who can continually serve Krishna unlimitedly too, and who gets more and more enjoyment out of serving Krishna. And that is the role of the greatest devotee of all, Srimati Radharani. So together, Krishna is, his desire for enjoyment is there. Radharani's desire to please that desire for enjoyment is there. And they keep, you could say almost this transcendental competition happens where Krishna has this, let's make it happen. And let's make it happen even beyond what he imagined. And then his desire keeps growing. And sometime there's descriptions where Radha and Krishna will look at each other and they will, the one of them will appreciate the beauty of the other, and that one will then therefore Srimati Radharani's beauty will increase, which then will increase Krishna's beauty, and so on. They have this like eternally expanding relationship, never boring, never, like, oh, we've done it all. It's never hackneyed. Like in this world, right? It's okay, we kind of ticked off all the things on our to-do list or our bucket list. But in the spiritual context, it's always growing and always expanding. So Srimati Radharani, let's talk about her first in connection with Krishna. Then let's talk about some of her transcendental qualities to meditate on. And then let's talk about her in connection with us as the living entities, our relationship with her, okay? So in connection with Krishna, first I want to share that there's not that much on her story as a baby. There's not that many descriptions. We have a lot of baby pastimes for Krishna. But with Srimati Radharani, there's different descriptions in different Puranas of how she appeared in this world, right? In one class, Srila Prabhupada spoke, and he said that Rishabhanu was tilling the land and found this gold box, and Radharani was in the box, baby Radharani. And very similar to how Sita Devi was discovered. And then in other places, it's described that she was found in a golden lotus flower, in a 1,000-petaled lotus flower. So other acharyas write about that. And then other acharyas write how she was born from self-manifested in the womb of Kirtida, her mother. So sometimes in spiritual life, we hear like, oh, there's this description, that one. How do they line up? They're all different. And because the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his eternal consort always appear over and over millennium, they keep appearing every time this universe is here, they have variations in their pastimes. So all three can be true at various times. So the description of Rishabhanu, though, when he discovers baby Radharani, is that he embraces her. She's so attractive, this little baby. If you've ever seen a cute baby, just like multiply it by, I don't know, a million or something. Can you imagine how her skin is golden and she must have been like smiling beautifully and so fragrant. And so he picked her up and he was feeling emotion. His whole became ecstatic when he embraced this little baby, this little infant, Radharani. So another pastime we do know about her is that she didn't open her eyes for quite a while after she was born. And the parents, Kirtida and Vrishabhanu, they got worried. Like, why isn't our baby opening her eyes? Maybe she's blind. Maybe she has something wrong with her eyes. And so then one day, Mother Yashoda and Krishna came to visit Kirtida and Vrishabhanu and their daughter. So Krishna was also little, right? He's crawling age. And so the mothers were talking, and Krishna crawled into the other room where Radharani is sleeping on a little cot, a little crib. And Krishna reached over and touched gently on Srimati Radharani's face, her eyes. And Radharani, the description that the Acharyas write is that immediately she was aware, this is how it's put, is that the person for whom her eyes were created had appeared in the room. The person for whom her eyes were created was there, had arrived. So then she thought, oh, now my eyes have purpose. Now, and then she opened her eyes, and then Mother Yashoda and Rohini, or Kirtida were wondering what happened to Krishna. Right, baby Krishna is little. He wandered into the other room. We better go check. And so they went there, and they found the two babies together, like playfully interacting. And Radharani's eyes were big, wide, and they were, this picture here I wanted to show you. It's a nice painting of it. And her eyes are described as the color of cloud blue, sky blue clouds, something like that. So it's bluish. Her eyes are bluish, actually. But this is kind of the depiction of that moment when they first met. Of course, they're eternal consorts, and they don't ever really have a first meeting that way. But in the material world, and there's pastimes, they're meeting for the first time. And everyone was delighted because now Srimati Radharani's eyes were open. So when we're talking about Radharani in connection with Krishna, what is her relationship with Krishna? She didn't even want to open her eyes or look at anything else in this world besides Krishna. And that was the start of her pastimes here on this planet Earth. So that's how devoted she is to Krishna, that she doesn't want to see anything else or anyone else, right? And a little bit later, actually, there's another incident when she was little. She was about 6, 7 months old, and they did the grain ceremony. So they often, for babies, and I think this is going in and out a little bit. So sometimes for babies in India, they'll give them the ceremony where they give them the first grains with a fire yagya, right? It's like an actual event. So in this case, again, this is another pastime that describes how Radharani does only things with Krishna at the center. So she's sitting there on her mother's lap, her mother's name Kirtida, and then Mother Yashoda was nearby also attending with Krishna. And Mother Yashoda had brought a little bit of sweet rice for Krishna to keep him occupied during the ceremony. And so Srimati Radharani suddenly reached her hand out and snatched some of the remnants of Krishna and ate that. And that was her first grains. So she, this is also described in the descriptions, I think it's in Garga Samhita, but one of the descriptions of the Acharyas. So her first grains in this world were also Krishna's remnants. So again, we can see this mood of the greatest devotee of Krishna, where nothing else matters to them but Krishna. All that she wants is Krishna. And she's always wanting to find a way to facilitate Krishna's pleasure, like we talked about, right? His pleasures are there, and his desires there, and she's always wanting to fulfill that desire. And in so doing, she is receiving the greatest pleasure. It's not like in this world where one person's receiving everything, the other person's giving everything, and it feels uneven, right? It's not like that in the spiritual world. Those who are the servants of the servants of the servants, those who are in that mood of devotees, they actually enjoy more than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's why Krishna thought, how is it that my devotees are, especially Srimati Radharani, how is she enjoying so much? I want to go experience that. And therefore he became Lord Chaitanya, right? He took on that. So that was one of his internal purposes, to understand how is it that Radharani's love for me is so deep, and she's just getting so much enjoyment out of serving me and being, So I wanted to clarify that, because sometimes when we're thinking of things from a material point of view, we think, well, I don't know if I really want to sign myself up for a life of service, right? It's kind of like, in this world, it's not very appealing usually. We want to be at the top in this world, like get the service. But actually in the spiritual context, Srimati Radharani is there, and then her servants and their servant, and the devotees of the devotees of the devotees. And the more removed you are, the more pleasure you receive, like being the servant of the servant of the servant, right? So it's incomprehensible to us here in this material world, but it's we can see it over and over in the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And one other point is that all the other devotees of Vrindavan, all the other moods, we hear there's different rasas, right? There's the servants, there's the friends of Krishna, the cowboys, there are the parents, the parental people. It's not only the parents, but like those who see Krishna in that parental mood. And then there's the conjugal mood. All of the different devotees of Vrindavan, of the spiritual world, are there with the purpose of trying to unite Radha and Krishna. That's the whole purpose, even though they have different moods, and the cowboys do their own thing, and these devotees do that thing, and they all have their different places where they spend time and they do services. But the underlying desire of everyone there in the spiritual context is to bring Radha and Krishna together, to be happy to see the two of them united. And so that's all the other rasas support Madhurya rasa. So that's something to also remember. So let's talk about Radharani's qualities. And there's so many. I just want to pick a couple. There's 25 listed in the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that Prabhupada compiled, teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And so you can look up that list, but there's two qualities in particular that go together that I wanted to meditate on. One is from this list, right, of the list of 25. The first one is she's always very merciful. She's always very merciful. And the second one is she can give shelter to all kinds of devotees. So they go together. Shelter to all kinds of devotees, right? Good thing, because like if we're having a bad day, if we're struggling, if we're like in a low place in our spiritual life, don't worry, Radharani can give shelter to all kinds of devotees, right? Even those who are struggling. So expansive. So she's very merciful, and this is a quality that actually distinguishes her from Krishna. Krishna is incredibly merciful, right? We hear that. He's always doing more for us than we do for him. He's taking 10 steps towards us when we take one towards him, right? So we know that Krishna's unlimitedly merciful. How is it that Srimati Radharani is even more merciful, right? Incredible. So she actually outdoes Krishna in the compassion department. She really does. So if there's a living entity that Radharani approves of, she suggests this living entity to Krishna, then Krishna will override. Maybe he wanted certain things. He'll be like, okay, if Radharani approves of this living entity, then you can come towards me, right? So we see Prabhupada had deities around the world installed, right? With Radharani's hand very often in this position. Her hand is out, open, blessings, mercy. She's standing there. In some temples, she's like this also. But most of the temples in ISKCON, she has her hand forward to bless. And that's because she is the goddess of compassion. She is giving mercy to all the devotees who come there. And Krishna is playing his flute. He's engaged in his playful mood, but Radharani is actually looking out to all the devotees there and saying, hey, here's your blessings. Here's the mood. It's the mood of Lord Chaitanya, right? We see that in Lord Chaitanya's mood. So this divine feminine, this divine compassion, which sometimes over the course of the religious history in this world is separated. It's taken out from religions, and it becomes kind of harsh, just all about the rules and regulations and like, this is good and this is bad, right? And this kind of more masculine approach, which is not bad, right? We need both. But very often in religions, that when the when that feminine compassionate component is taken out, then things can get very harsh and very cruel. Right? So we need both things. We need rules and regulations. We need logic and reason. And we also need compassion, mercy, generosity, forgiveness, right? Both things. And we see that in Krishna and Radharani together. They embody both of those. So Radharani's mood, her mercy, it's when you think about this pastime where Krishna was playing his flute and then all the gopis, including Srimati Radharani, they dropped everything and they run, right? They drop everything and they run. We hear about it in Krishna book. What were some of the things that they left behind when they ran in that description in Krishna book? Boiling milk, right, on the stove. Yep. Can you imagine you hear something and you run out of your house, your milk's about to boil and you run out of your house and you know that the fire alarm's going to go off, my house might go up in flames, right? I mean, it's like you really have to be seriously interested in leaving to leave your pot like just about to boil, right? What else? Their husbands, right? Wow, the stigma, the social shame around that, right? There's like, they didn't think a second about it. Like, oh, I'm running to Krishna, right? What else? Their children, and that's like the deepest bond, right? Mother-child. Like, can you imagine? Krishna was more important to them than their own children. That's like how intense the love was. And what else? Their jewelry, right? They were. Did you say jewelry? Yeah, because there are descriptions like that where they're half dressed. They're like, oh, one earring. Oh well, they don't think about their earring. They're just like run, right? Yeah. Yeah, right. Sounds like a regular Hare Krishna. Yeah, so not caring about matching socks. I don't know if they wore socks very often, but yeah. So the descriptions are they got bewildered. They didn't know which clothes to wear. Whatever, just throw on something and go, right? Like knock your socks off. Is that what you said? Oh, that is a good one though. Knock your socks off. So yeah. So this mood of I'm running to Krishna no matter what, like an ocean, like this river rushing to the ocean, right? You can't hold it back. You throw a log in, you throw some. If the river is going and it's going, that's it. You can't stop it, right? So this desire of the soul, which is epitomized in Srimati Radharani, because she is at the most extreme level of devotion that we'll never be able to reach. We're similar in nature, but minute, right? We're also like little tiny streams rushing to Krishna, but hers is like this giant river rushing to Krishna. Right? Her love for Krishna is unmatchable. But anyway, so all the gopis are running, and there's something in that is, you could say, lawless, right? There's no rules anymore. Out the door, whatever, forget about all, and I'm just running, right? Lawless love. And that is the mood of Srimati Radharani and the gopis, is let's not worry about all these things. Let's just run to Krishna. And not only that, but more importantly, let's bring others with us to Krishna. And that is the mood of Srimati Radharani. In that same way that they run to Krishna without thinking, they also go, how can we help other living entities come to Krishna in that same way? Don't worry if they're struggling. Just bring them, just take them. And that's the mood of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, because that mood of that intense love for Krishna, regardless of what's going on with all the different rules and things, is the mood of Lord Chaitanya. Oh, well, you're sitting there on the corner street smoking a pack of cigarettes. Just chant, join us, dance, right? It's that mood of the Sankirtan movement. We're so inclusive in that way, so generous, so expansive, right? And that's the mood of Srimati Radharani, trickling down into this material world, and we're feeling that through Lord Chaitanya's movement. And then the other thing about her mercy is that she's more happy bringing others to Krishna than herself going to Krishna. So she gets more pleasure bringing other living entities to Krishna and having them meet him. There's some amazing contrasts here with Srimati Radharani, her qualities. One is that she is the most significant person in the entire creation, spiritual world, right? The entire universe, because she's the most dear to Krishna, right? She is the most significant personality. And yet she's often the most hidden, and she's very demure, very mild, very modest, very humble. So I feel like I missed a joke or something. No. Oh. So this contrast, right? So she's such a significant personality. Without her mercy, we can't receive Krishna's mercy. That's how significant she is in our lives. Like we can't receive Krishna's mercy without hers. And yet she's not even mentioned directly in Srimad Bhagavatam, right? She's so humble. She's willing to take a back seat position, right? She's like, push others forward, that mood. And I highlighted that in like orange letters on my paper for myself, because we can extract that lesson from Srimati Radharani. When can I get into that mood of, or how can I get into that mood of being more happy pushing others forward in their spiritual journeys than being the one to rush forward and get the maha, or being the one to rush forward and get the recognition? So can I also follow in Radharani's example and do that, right? To like, I'd be happy to have others come forward, and let me take a back seat. I don't need to be the one recognized. Let me have all these people that come through Krishna House here, all the especially the managers, the leaders, the ones who are bringing devotees, even among all of you, bringing people right to programs. Let me present all of them to Srila Prabhupada, to Lord Chaitanya, and I don't need to be like glorified and applauded for it. Let me be happy in just delivering them to the feet of our disciplic succession, right? Srila Prabhupada and so on, Srimati Radharani. So that's the mood. And then the second contradiction that we experience when we're glorifying Radharani is that we often say, right, she's the most compassionate, she's gentle, she's the feminine aspect of Krishna. And at the same time, contradictory to that, or kind of juxtaposed, you could say, she's also the most powerful personality, the most powerful personality. Everything in the spiritual world is running because of her. Everyone loves her, wants to please her, including Krishna. Krishna will bow his head down at the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. So when you think of someone with power in this material world, we often see that it becomes tainted. Power there's an expression, right? What is that expression? Yeah, absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? We see that, some of that, or quite a bit of that in politics in this world, right? Power. Anytime there's a position like, oh, someone can be in leadership, how are they going to use that for themselves, or are they actually going to be doing good for others, right? But here we have Srimati Radharani, the most powerful devotee of Krishna. And yet she's called the Queen of Vrindavan, right? The whole Vrindavan, Vrindavaneshwari, the goddess of Vrindavan. And actually, when you go to who here has been to Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan? Yeah, a lot of you, yeah. So you know how Srimati Radharani, when you're there, you'll see, if you stand in front of the altar there, you'll notice that the deities of Radharani has like an extra fancy garland. She actually gets two. They give her two every day, but all the deities have nice garlands and they have nice flowers, but the garland makers reserve the best and most beautiful flowers to make Radharani's garland every day. And why is that? Because she's the queen of Vrindavan, and with her mercy, we receive Krishna's mercy. So Krishna is under her control. And yet she is not like this material world where her power corrupts, right? She is not using the power to draw attention to herself. She's wanting to draw everyone to Krishna. And that's the difference. When we get power in this world, we often get egotistical. I want people to notice me. Look what I'm doing. Woohoo, right? But Radharani is not like that. So this is another lesson number 2 from Radharani, right? That there's so many, but this one, we can meditate on this. When I get a leadership position, if I get some, you could say position of power, management, whatever. Am I using it to draw attention to me, or am I using it to draw people's attention to Krishna? Right? Am I kind of standing? I'm standing here as like a facilitator, but I'm I'm letting it bounce off of me and go, no, Krishna, right? Don't let it stick with you. Don't think, oh, it's about me and I'm so special, right? That's not the mood of Radharani. Her mood is it's all about Krishna. So the two things that we can meditate on with her qualities is that she's more happy bringing others to Krishna. So we can reflect on that. Am I also tapping into that? Am I more happy to bring others to Krishna than focusing on my own life, right? My own spiritual journey. And the second thing is, am I comfortable centering Krishna, stepping back myself and remaining, you could say even like hidden, like no, I don't need the glorification. How comfortable am I putting Krishna forward, putting other devotees forward, and stepping back and letting others get the glorification? So those two things we can really reflect on. And we might not be at 100% because most likely we're not, because we're in this material world where the reason we're here is we want some of that attention. We want to feel that ego expand, right? So we can pray to Radharani about those things. So finally, let's look at our relationship with Radharani. So we're here in this world, little jivas. On the Jaladuta, when Prabhupada wrote this bhajan, he arrived in the Boston Harbor. Actually, it was the one before that, I believe. So on the Jaladuta, Prabhupada coined this song, Krishna Tava Punya Habibai. E Punya Koribe Jabe Radharani Kushi Habi. So the first stanza of his line goes that it's by the mercy of Radharani that we get Krishna's mercy. Only when she is pleased with us, her happiness is what propels us in spiritual life. So our relationship with Radharani. So first of all, we really want to, our whole thing, right? We're Krishna consciousness movement. We want to deepen our love for Krishna. And so therefore we absolutely need Radharani's mercy. So in that way, it's just kind of obvious, like we need Radharani, her help. Another way that we can think about our relationship with her is, Prabhupada gave us this, is he described in his depiction of the holy name, he said that this chanting is exactly like the genuine cry of a child for its mother. Mother Hara helps the devotee achieve the Lord Father's grace, and the Lord reveals himself to the devotee who chants this mantra sincerely. So Mother Hara is Radharani, right? So he said, Prabhupada saying, helps the devotee achieve the Lord Father's grace. It's a nice phrase, Lord Father's grace. So we could say Father, our Father Krishna, and our Mother Srimati Radharani. Prabhupada was always very careful that we politely approach Radha and Krishna in the mood of awe and reverence, more so than intimacy, right? Because we're not at that level. So we have to be very careful. And when we think about a mother's love, that's a safe way to think about Srimati Radharani, because at our level, we need the love and support of a loving mother, unconditional loving support of a mother. I recently, my mother recently visited me, and it's just, there's just something special about that relationship with a mother, because they have seen you through ups and downs, everything. You can be yourself fully, right? So imagine Srimati Radharani to that many millions of times more than the love we've experienced in this world for us as a loving mother. And another way that we can experience her is as our loving guide. So we were talking about some of the lessons we can learn from her relationship with Krishna. She can also give us a glimpse into our own nature, into our nature. Why is that? Because we're also she's the internal energy of Krishna, and we're the marginal energy of Krishna, but we're also energies of Krishna, right? And so into minute degree, we can understand by understanding how Radharani has such intense love for Krishna, we can understand, oh, that's actually what my soul really wants too. And therefore we can follow her example. We can think, okay, that's what I'm actually yearning for too, is to be like that river rushing to the ocean of Krishna. You ever see those in a park? Do you ever see like a mother duck and all her little ducklings? So I was thinking that Srimati Radharani, she's like the leader of all the other devotees of Krishna. She's at the front of the line, showing us what to do, how to serve, how to give her life for Krishna, how to do everything. She's willing to do anything for Krishna. And we're all like the little ducklings, like, falling behind, trying to keep up. And it's funny because I saw a clip recently there was mother duck jumped into the river, but it was like kind of a high ledge, like sort of like, imagine they're all like, and then you have to jump off this to go into the water. And the little ducklings were like, should we go? Should we go? Like, what should we do? We really want to follow her, but it's scary. And then you just see them like, you probably come across this at some point, see this little ducks like flying in the air, but they took that leap of faith, right? So similarly, we're like that. Okay, Srimati Radharani's, her devotion for Krishna is so unimaginably, I can't relate, but I'm going to just keep following along like a little duckling, go behind her, right? And as long as I'm close to Srimati Radharani, then everything is safe. I'm safe. And how do we do that practically? So the practical way to do that, Prabodhananda Saraswati talks about that. It's the practical way to connect with Radharani is to do service for the movement of Lord Chaitanya. So it's not so esoteric, it's not so complicated. He says that by serving Lord Chaitanya's mission, you gain entrance into the service of Radharani. And that's what all of you are doing right now. Like living here, giving your lives, serving the mission of Lord Chaitanya. And so Radharani must just be so pleased with all of you, And we don't call it the Radha house, we're calling it the Krishna house, right? That's another example of how Radharani remains. She's second, she's not taking like, oh, it's all about me. She wants everything to be about Krishna, the Krishna house. And here we all are helping people come to Krishna. But our support in doing so is Srimati Radharani. She is the one who gives us the strength to help other living entities come to Krishna. So we can pray to her. So practical tips, we can see our service, like, oh, I'm serving the Lord Chaitanya's movement. Okay, I'm pleasing Radharani. And then also praying to her. Your prayers can be individual. I know you all have your own relationship with Srimati Radharani, but we can also pray for that compassionate heart. Let me not be so egocentric that I think only about my own spiritual journey. Let me expand. Let me think about the souls I run into. Let me help them on their journeys to Krishna. So that expansive, and let me help, and Radharani, please help me center Krishna instead of my own ego. Just like you center Krishna and you take the back seat, you don't put yourself forward, right? She's always modest, she's there, but she's not like, right? She's, so let me please follow in that mood so we can pray in those ways and other ways as well. And then finally, another tip that we can do is when we're chanting japa, we can chant and focus on the first Hare of the mantra, especially today, when today's Radhastami. So if you focus on the first Hare, Radha, right? Like this is actually a tip that Giriraj Swami shared at a japa retreat. By chanting and focusing on the first Hare, Radharani carries you for the rest of the mantra. She gives you the spiritual strength to help you chant with attention. And let's try it, okay? So we'll chant a mantra together, but with a prayerful attention to hear the first Hare, okay? And you can close your eyes and let's do it right now. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Let's do it again. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare. And again, one more time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. She always comes, even though she's always modest and doesn't push herself forward, we always say her name first because we need her mercy. Hare Krishna, Radha Krishna, right? So we can meditate on that. So I want to just quickly say, tell you what we discussed so you can remember the flow. So we talked about Radharani's connection with Krishna, right? How her whole life, she didn't even want to see anything in this world until Krishna was there. Her whole life is about Krishna. We talked about her qualities and specifically how she's so merciful and she wants others to come to Krishna more than she wants to be with Krishna. She wants us, all of us here, she wants us to come to Krishna more than she wants to be with Krishna. And if you read about how much she wants to be with Krishna, the descriptions in the different literatures, you'll be shocked. Like her love for Krishna is so intense, she practically dies without being with Krishna, right? And to think that her love for us coming to Krishna is even more than that, it's unbelievable, right? So we're so fortunate to have her on our side. And then the other thing is she likes to center Krishna. It's all about Krishna. It's not about her. She doesn't make it about her. So, and then finally, our relationship with Srimati Radharani. So we can pray to her and to follow her example. And we can see her as our divine, loving mother who can help us, encourage us. And we can remember that our services here at Krishna House are directly pleasing Radharani, like helping the local student, giving them some Krishna lunch. That is a service to Radharani. And we can also remember that we can pray to her and make it very personal. And finally, we can also chant Hare with intention, and then she'll help us with our japa. So there's so many ways to get her mercy, but I just wanted to share a few practical tips so we can like apply it during our day, because I like to do that. So it helps me. So we'll open it up for maybe one or two. Okay, so two. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay, Jonathan.
I appreciate you explaining why her hand was up to bestow blessings, because the only thing that I had heard was it was up to tell people to stop.
Oh.
Before you get to Krishna, you ever thought she was waving before? So it says stop, like halt. Who goes there? And then she examines your heart, and she can deny you access to Krishna. And that's a little intimidating. There's times when I felt that too. Even come to the temple when my consciousness wasn't right. I was like, yeah, I don't even really feel like I can approach this correctly. But one of my questions is what are some of the signs if Srimati Radharani is denying you access to Krishna and his service?
I don't have an immediate like scriptural answer to that. I would have to like study. I don't know if anyone else wants to share something on that. Shruti?
I forget which book is it by Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, the one he talks about Aparada, Radhastami. Which book is that, bro? Mother Kadamani? That's the book's name. That's the book's name. Do you remember? Yeah. Okay. Missing mercy. So it's like Aparada. Aparada literally means offense. So apa without radha. So when there's offensive mentality towards other devotees or entities, then that mercy kind of fades away a bit.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So the main way to impede our own progress and to not receive the mercy of Srimati Radharani is if we're creating offenses, especially with other devotees and also with Krishna also. Like if we're offending Krishna, if we're chanting inattentively, like chatting while we're chanting, it's just like it's not conducive for that mercy to flow, right? Because we're not showing that, yes, I want to be a humble servant and I'm interested in being part of it. I really am respectful. If we're like disrespectful, then of course, then yeah, we don't receive entrance. Radharani she is indiscriminately giving mercy, but she's also, like you said, she's also protective of the sacred space around Krishna. So if we're not behaving correctly, then yes, we're not gonna experience that. And the way that we feel that, because you were asking, how do we feel that it's being blocked, is that we feel our taste in Krishna consciousness dropping, declining, like our taste in chanting goes down. And then we can look around and think, well, we can introspect and go, what am I doing in my life that is maybe not, that maybe I'm hurt, maybe I'm doing something towards other devotees, or maybe I'm chanting inattentively, or I'm doing something maybe disrespectful. I'm not, like that. So we can introspect when we're not having a taste, because that means that the mercy is not flowing this way.
Thing that I just try to remember for myself, if there is a situation like this where we're not receiving the mercy, I just imagine to myself, it's not that Radharani or Krishna or God in any way is suddenly closing themselves up. It's just that you are not approaching anymore. Radharani is still right there, just as eager to give us everything that we actually desire deep down, but it's us that are turning away or not taking that final step.
Yeah, we're turning our face away, and Bahir Mukha, turning away from Radharani or Radha Krishna. Yeah.
But sometimes, yeah, we might feel like the mercy isn't flowing, but it's just that Radha and Krishna, Radharani wants us to, sometimes, Krishna wants us to push more, or get past certain, obstacles. So it might look like, mercy isn't flowing, then you just have to do an inventory and see what is it that Krishna, what is Krishna trying to tell me, what lesson, where does he want me to grow? So that is his mercy.
Yeah.
That obstacle that comes might look like, oh, Krishna's mad at me or something, but that is his mercy. When we do reflect, then we should realize, okay, this is Krishna's mercy.
Yeah,
if we don't reflect, then
yeah, that's a good point. And the way to sometimes get help with that is to ask our mentors, our guru, and so on, whether they can give us any insight. Because if we don't want to feel like, oh, Krishna's just mad at Radharani and Krishna just mad at me, but we're actually doing everything right. Because sometimes they do disappear a little bit to increase our taste or to make us work hard, right? There's that whole rasa that we see in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes where Krishna would appear and then Lord Chaitanya would run to him and then he would disappear again. And just to create that intensity. Yes. Mm-hmm. And then
I was just appreciating you sharing that quote from Prabodhananda Saraswati, and it just really provoked this realization about how, Prabodhananda Saraswati, he's actually Tunya Vidya in the spiritual world, and Rupa Goswami is also like a beloved associate of Shri Radha, and when we hear from them, we actually associate with people that actually know Radha, and we can actually get the opportunity, if we want to take it, to actually know her and how to serve her by serving the other devotees. And we're just so fortunate in our Gaudiya line to have this association available for us, and they're giving us intimate understandings for the topmost pleasure, which is giving Krishna pleasure.
Nice. Yeah, it's a really nice realization. Mm-hmm. Nate, and then you had your hand up. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Thank you very much for class and this wonderful discussion on this very special day. I want to appreciate last night a very nice, almost like a workshop on, was it Divine Feminine? The lost treasure of femininity. Gopaji and Tulasya Nanda facilitated here. And along with that discourse or workshop, there was this point of having a balance between those two, both feminine and masculine, and the lost treasure of femininity that it's been prevalent in the world today, modern era, and actually for a long time. And I was thinking about Radharani's other quality of Radharani. She's also a little feisty, right? She has both. She has this compassionate nature, but she also, in comparison to the other camp of gopis, she has that feistiness about her, which was also something we reflect on.
Yeah.
She's fired up.
Yeah, fired. The original fired up devotee.
She's fired up devotee.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I wanted to, just before we wrap, I want to come back because I realized I didn't come back to the question at the beginning of class. So I want to ask you, why is it that Prabhupada's father wanted the sadhus to bless him to be a devotee of Radharani? What do you think the answer is? Jonathan? So he could get Krishna's mercy? Yeah. Yeah, because she's the topmost, then he can also be elevated too. Yes. A devotee of Krishna. Yes. Anything else? There's several answers, but Because he loved his son. That's really nice. That's a really nice answer. Yeah. What else? In connection with when you think about Prabhupada's life,
it came in that one of the purports we read that she is very expert in intensifying and expanding the pleasure for Krishna.
yeah,
She's most expert in that. And if we see what Prabhupada has done, he's expanded that to the magnitude like couldn't be even imagined, even by Prabhupada's predecessors,
yeah,
acharyas. They were dreaming of that, but Prabhupada came to put it in fruition.
Mhm.
Yes, it's to such extent. So that is certainly mercy of Radharani that he has received through the sadhus.
Yes, nice. Yeah, it came to be. Like, right, you can see it in his actions, how he had this expansive quality, helping so many souls come to Krishna.
Born, there was I think the grandfather was an astrologer, was like he's gonna be a great devotee and preach and start 108 temples.
Yeah.
So like, I would imagine having heard that his father was like become a great devotee of Radharani so that we can share Krishna with others.
Nice. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's go. Oh, sorry.
And we were speaking about Radharani not really looking at anyone's faults or drawbacks. So I don't think any other acharya has exemplified that as much as Srila Prabhupada had to come and live in a place where there was meat and where the guy went insane and attacked him. His disciples were like babies, and in the beginning he would cook for them, do the whole Sunday feast by himself, even sometimes feed them by hand, but that was just out of affection. And just really have this mood of being a mother, basically, and not closing the door on anyone, but bringing everyone along with him, just like you said.
Nice. That's a really nice realization. Yeah.
I was just thinking how Sankirtan is like the mood of the gopis and engaging everyone and anyone in devotional service. And he exemplified the mercy of Radharani as well as like the service of Radharani and increasing the devotion that Krishna can receive by spreading it to the West and all over the world.
Yeah. Isn't it nice we get to hear that Prabhupada his father was asking devotees to bless him to be a devotee of Radharani, and then we see Prabhupada's life and how it unfolded, and we see that is the blessing of Radharani. That was all the devotees and Prabhupada's father, and then all the intention became true, right? It manifested, it happened. And so that's really inspiring to see. So we can also pray for devotees to pray for us to Radharani, right? Please give us, blessings. Okay, so thank you all so much for being here and sharing, and I hope that you have a very enlivening day meditating on Srimati Radharani and how you can serve her mission and her mood. Srimati Radharani ki jai.